Oh my God. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. I was so excited, that Sarah and I were just talking, and we're going to do some great things for you all today. So let me just say this. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Shout out to Olivia. Hello, Olivia is at the helm of TTR right now. And Benny is at the helm of KKNW AM 1150. And I don't remember the FM station, Benny, but there you go. And guess who's joining us today, Benny?
Sarah Bamford Seidelmann.
That's not her last name.
No, but I just like to say it like that. So
Seidelmann.
appropriate.
Sarah Seidelmann. I got that right, Sarah, right?
Yeah. You
Seidelmann.
got it perfect.
Yeah, because that's the way New York. I had a friend. Oh, funny. Growing up, I had a friend, Sarah Seidelmann, in New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
You're not from New York, are you?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. For those of you watching, yes, my masks are here in the background because I know you're going to email me. Because I'm just saying that Linda is here from New Jersey and we're in the same space. So we got to do like all the mask and protection stuff. So that's why everybody saw that there. I'm not making, I get emails from our listeners. They're the best listeners on the planet. So I'm pretty sure that I'll get an email from one of them if I didn't say that, are you making a statement, Pat? Well, I am making a statement. The statement is we're trying to be super cool because Linda just got off an airplane. Just saying. But that's part of what we're talking about today. For you all out there, so excited about this show. When I heard we were actually going to be talking with Sarah Bamford Seidelmann. When I heard this, I thought, wow, this is going to be incredible because I need to hear this right now. I absolutely need to hear Dr. Seidelmann, Sarah, whatever you want, whatever it is, I want to hear right now, for me, for all of you, what it is about our arguments for our limitations that are so showing up right now. What do I mean by that argument for our limitations? I'll tell you. I had a couple of calls already this morning. What does it look like when you argue for a limitation, but you don't know you're arguing for it? So it starts to look like maybe settling, maybe not looking at the possibilities, maybe thinking you're not able to achieve something. But in my case, as a network owner and the host of the Dr. Pat Show, it's this. Can I be more creative? Given what's going on in the world, given our new technology is finished as of 2 days ago, how can I be more creative? When Linda Sarah talks to me, Dr. Sarah, when Linda, our producer who totally books this, just saying, books everybody, Linda wants to know, how can I become less creative and more productive? But today we're going to talk about all of that, right? We have joining us a 4th generation physician, absolutely out in the world in a way you may not know. But look at this. This is what I love to say. Ready, everybody? 4th generation physician, shamanic mentor, woman of medicine, leads travel retreats around the world because I'm telling you, I'm ready to go, and an author. And so what I know about this, Dr. Sarah, is this. We have more people that are wanting to join our network now than ever in our 10-year history. I've been doing this 16 years. Benny and I have been a thing for 16 years. And for me, Dr. Pat, and Benny, I'm not saying it's you. How good are you willing to let it get? Do y'all see that? I need your help today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pat. I'm glad to be here.
She's Benny. She's like laughing already.
Right? Perfect.
I know. It's like, Sarah, Dr. Sarah, are you saying, oh my gosh, how did I sign up for this interview? Who did this?
I am excited to be here. In fact, I think I was here a few years back,
You
but maybe
were.
it was a long time. Yes, it's been a while, but I don't think we were on video then.
No, you were
But
like you did the Beastie book. Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Discovery. Yeah. But here we are. I want to ask you this question. I just read a whole totally bunch of things about you. And Benny, we're probably going to skip the first break if you don't mind.
Okay.
But I want to say this to the listeners. This is a live call-in show today. And you're going to see what is going to happen here in the next few minutes. Because not only are we talking about a book, fantastic book, and by the way, I've got questions from the book to ask you. But more than that, this goes in order. There are dates in here. And so we're going to zoom in on today. But I'm also interested in this week because some energy has changed. But I have to ask you something. Since the last time we talked, I was telling Linda, and I said, I've talked to her like once or twice before. And I said, isn't she the one that I interviewed where I went out and I said to you, don't ever criticize me when I say I'm getting my beastie on. Don't do it. This is a woman that gave me permission. But what has changed for you? I want to ask you this because I can only imagine what it's like for you. But how have you moved forward? How have you changed from not just writing this book, but from all of the very obstacles that come from being you in the public?
Yeah. Well, definitely it was a hero's journey, deciding to leave medicine, or kind of that realization that I needed to leave. That was what I was being called to do. And in fact, the title of this new book kind of comes from that period of time, because I took a sabbatical from medicine, just feeling lost. I was kind of, for those of you who don't know what pathologists do, we're one of the physicians who are kind of like professional disease hunters. You might think of us. We sit at our microscopes all day looking at things that have been removed from the body, like tissues, biopsies, organs, this kind of thing, to tell the doctor or the surgeon, what disease process is active. And I started getting more curious about what makes people healthy. It's like almost like that shift from psychology, which or psychiatry used to be all about all the illness, mental illness. And then we started going, but wait a minute, what makes people happy? Kind of had that kind of a shift. And that summer when I took a sabbatical, I was like, whoa, as soon as I took it and started exploring this path of spirituality, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm so fascinated. I'm just really drawn to this, but I know I've got to go back to work. But I kind of made this prayer. And at the time, I wasn't super spiritual at the time, but I was like, well, I'm going to put it out there. Universe, if I'm meant to do this spiritual work and not go back to work,
Right.
to my work at the hospital, please, show me how. And a couple weeks later, my husband got a raise that was like almost to the dollar amount of what I was making at the time.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, it's a miracle. I was running around the house feeling so good, and I was so excited. But then a couple days later, I was like, maybe that's not the sign. That maybe that's just my mind wanting to think that was a sign. And at the time, I was reading the book The Big Leap by, help me. Well,
Yeah.
it's like leaving my brain right now. But anyway, the wonderful book.
I read it too.
Yeah. And I had this realization that perhaps I had been putting a glass ceiling on how good I was willing to. Gay Hendricks. Thank you, Benny. That's
Benny.
Yep.
Benny.
I
Very
was
good.
like, wow, well, maybe I'm putting a self-imposed limit on how much joy I'm allowed to have in my life, how much fun I can allow my work to be. Because at the time, I was really just, miserable at work. And so I decided, and with Alice, my spirit animal's, sort of support, to start asking myself this question: how good are you willing to let it get, Sarah? Because a lot of times, although this is hard, it's hard for us to acknowledge, or it was certainly hard for me to acknowledge, that we are the ones kind of putting that lid on ourselves. And so anyway, that's kind of what inspired the book title, and wanting to invite people to ask, how good are you willing to let, how much love, how much abundance could you trust is okay for you?
I love this because look, you and I could have been like twins, but I'm pretty sure I could probably be your mother. But here's the thing. We went through the same pathway. I mean, many people, I'm starting to write a book now because I think I feel the pressure from all the publicists that I've interviewed people in 16 years. They're like, what are you doing? Where's your book? And so I'm recounting things. And when you were just talking about this, I was really struck by something. When I made the decision after a 10-year back to school, master's and doctorate in psychology, when I did that, and then I got depressed. I finished the postdoctoral work. I got the awards. I had to do presentations. When I was done, I was supposed to, like you, probably went through it, went through school, went through residency, and then you entered into, I was supposed to get a big fat job with like Deloitte and Touche, like making a lot of money, like traveling the world. I couldn't. And I couldn't explain it. And I think your book does explain it because it's hard to tell folks, right? And then the universe show up. So in your case, your husband got the big raise, right?
Yes.
That had to be a giant raise, by the way. In my case, right? In my case, I dial a wrong phone number. And then when I start to doubt myself, I get a mystery disease that basically crippled me and I couldn't do anything but radio. So how does the universe, in your opinion, in how good are you willing to let it get? And then we're going to go to today. What's your sense of how the universe contorted for you, so to speak?
Well, I think I kind of live by the premise that it is a kind and loving universe.
Me
That
too.
doesn't mean that we're not going to encounter very difficult scenarios and tragedy and all these things, but somehow forces will come, helpers will show up, things will, to help us understand what it is we're needing to learn, or we're needing to grasp, or we're needing to understand, or how we're meant to serve in the world. I mean, it's very confusing at times. Um, yes, but I think, this book is sort of a daily inspiration guide, a lot of which is to call us just to be present with ourselves and to admit our foibles and to keep on trucking, and keep on getting up every day, living one day at a time. And there's a lot of themes of recovery in here, a lot of sort of spiritual but not religious themes in here,
Yep.
because I feel like, yeah, when we're saying yes to our hero's journey, we sort of need the daily inspiration. We need to sit with ourselves and get pumped up for the day before we head out there, because it's not easy. And of course, the pandemic and all the things that are happening right now are making it more challenging. As you said, there's a lot of energy. I thought at the full moon that happened on Monday, oh my goodness, I've been through an
Oh,
emotional odyssey that, and so there's a lot going on.
that full moon, if you take that full moon and you go back to the new moon, which was the second new moon in Cancer of that same month, right? And then we look at today's August 6th message. I have to tell you, I have been a career person and now a business owner. I've been a business owner for, I'd say maybe 25 years now, separate from my corporate career. I'm being faced with figuring things out today, given where we are with COVID-19, in ways that I never thought I would have to. But today's reading from your book is brilliant. And I would love for you to share it. And then are we going to pick a card?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
So
And for
I will
those,
read from
okay, let me just say, for those of you out there that want a card read, that want to get into a day, you can pick any day of the year. We'll read from it. We'll pick a card. 1-800-930-2819. But now I'm turning this over to Dr. Sarah. It's all you.
Awesome. So August 6th, the theme is chop wood. And the message from Alice, my spirit animal elephant, is this: when you have a spectacular spiritual experience, treasure it, but don't fall into the trap of being crestfallen when you can't seem to replicate it. That experience was a gift. Leave it at that and be grateful. Go take out the trash and be glad for that too. It's all sacred. And then the reflection from me is, After a friend died under tragic circumstances, I experienced one of the most powerful and beautiful periods with a group of dear friends. It lasted a few short weeks. It was as if we had all dropped our personal agendas in order to be present for the greater good of the grieving family. It was deeply mysterious, and then it ended. Things went back to being ordinary, and I grieved the loss of that special time of connection and sensitivity. Why can't we relate like that all the time? I wondered. I finally had to let it go so I could go grocery shopping because our fridge was empty. And then Alice asks, is there a spectacular experience you cling to or something you wish it would happen again? How did it affect your ordinary life afterwards? And the prayer is, dear God, help me celebrate the extraordinary times and the ordinary ones too.
I picked up immediately. First of all, thank you for that. But I'll tell you what I picked up immediately. I did pick up quite a few messages, inspirations, whatever we want to call them in your book, that I was familiar with in recovery myself.
Yeah.
I got my 30-year coin back there. So, woo-hoo! And people say, you're not supposed to tell people. Well, I'm not talking about the program. I'm just talking about me. But I don't know if I would have made it without learning some of the insights you're talking about. How did you come to be the energy of this, Dr. Sarah? How did that happen to you?
Well, this relationship with the spirit animal, I always tell people, is like a relationship with a friend, and we cultivate it over time by visiting them again and again. And then we also cultivate it by every time we sit in meditation, every time we go out in nature and sit with ourselves in that silence. And this project really was born. Actually, I was in a ceremony in Peru, sitting on a mountaintop, and it was like I was sort of feeling crushed about a writing project that had gone south and wasn't nobody. My agent didn't want it, and I was feeling sad about that. And then this idea came to me, like, why don't you, Alice, my spirit elephant, was like, why don't we do something together? And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun, and so I just started to visit her. It started out as a 100-day project where every day I was going to just visit her, ask for a message to share with sort of the public. And she was very excited about that, and I was too. And so we did it for 100 days, and people really responded to her words, and so it just was really wonderful. And I was learning wonderful things from her too. So it was a win-win.
Well, this is what I love. Let's talk about spirit and animals, because you and I have an interesting dialogue that you reference in the book, right? I love the idea, right? I love the idea that somehow we've been given this bandwidth, I call it. You could tell I've spent a lot of time in this format, right? So we've been given this bandwidth. And I too believe in a benevolent universe, benevolent God, benevolent grandmothers, grandfathers, whatever you want. I really do believe that. And I grew up with that. I don't know how, but I did. But one of the things that I love about this is you were giving this bandwidth for you to step in, just like I was. There is no such thing as a wrong phone number, but I dialed it. And within 10 minutes, I bought my first hour of airtime in 2003. I didn't even know what I was doing, and I did it. And then 3 months later, this network said, oh, you're not going to, I love this, right? Oh, you're not going to believe it. Oh, we have a 10 o'clock spot open. That never happens. We heard your show. You think you want it? Like, yes, pull out the credit card, did it again. You and I are fortunate. I have a best friend that never questioned what I was doing. You obviously have a partner, husband, spouse, kind of sounds like the same thing. But sometimes we have to make these decisions when other people don't. And hence, I started to doubt myself. I believe that I got this mystery disease to keep me in this industry because this is what I could do, and to learn how to step into the bandwidth. Because when I showed up, the show was Crust Busting Your Way to an Awesome Life, because I was crusted over. and I didn't quite have that spiritual thing. How does spirit guide us in the world today?
Wow. Well, I think
know.
that's a big question. It comes to people in so many different ways, but I think it comes to us in the people that we encounter, the strangers that we meet, the person who's at the cash register at the grocery store. I mean, in COVID, it's less people maybe, but it can come through the radio channel when, the talk show host. It can just being curious, like what captures our attention and what is showing up. I mean, of course, I love, as you know, like the animals, the wild animals that cross our paths. Like, what do we notice? Because everything is coming as a teacher and as trying to show us which direction we might benefit from going, or offering us help. Like, the wrong number and the person says something to you that just like, wow. Yeah, and it is a great mystery, and I think that's what makes it so hard, but that's what makes it so incredibly miraculous. Like, we think we would want it all laid out to us. I think a lot of people, often go like, "Just tell me what to do and tell me what my destiny is." And like, that wouldn't be any fun. Like, that's why the spirits made it like, I think that's why the creative force, or whatever you want to call it, God, the higher power, nature's intelligence, made it just completely open for us to choose where we want to go.
Yeah. Does your life surprise you? So let me be a little bit clear. Do you wake up some days and surprise yourself, or do you wake up and perhaps you're on a different book tour, or almost like you have to pinch yourself, you're surreal? Because I had an experience last October where, I mean, I thought I had pretty much covered it all, done it all, Positive Talk Radio Network, the whole thing. I thought, okay, this is good. There can't be anything else that my spirit animal, that you're asking me to do. And boy, I was wrong, because I got put to the test last October. But how about you? Do you think I'm just kind of being Dr. Sarah, and I'm kind of rolling along, and then boom, do this, Sarah?
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, I can think of one of the things when people ask you those kind of questions, like if you could do anything and there were no limits on money and time and all this kind of stuff, like what would you do? And I
Yeah.
remember years ago saying somebody like, well, I would go to the Amazon and I would study with a true teacher of the plants. I would just go there and just immerse myself in it, and I didn't think too much of it. And then I don't know, like 3 years later, I happened to be somewhere and this person said, would you like to come with me? I think it's time, and you could come now to the Amazon. I mean, it kind of came out of left field, and I was like, oh, and it was so delightful because it was like nothing that I was striving towards, nothing that I was working for, but this beautiful gift and like the thrill of that. And then it was a year before I actually went, and just the thrill of that experience was kind of one of those surprises that was really delightful. Yeah. And so I got to go last year for the first time, and I hope to go this year again.
Wow.
Yeah.
But one of the things you say in the book, and I want to talk to it for a minute. And for those of you out there, we are taking callers, and what we plan to do when you call in, we're going to pick a card. And actually, I have a card here that I've picked, and maybe Sarah could pick one for me. We'll use it as an example, but we're going to do this for you all. And if you don't call in, or you're not able to, you can always send us a message at Transformation Talk Radio. Just type your question in there. But we are taking your calls, 1-800-930-2819. There are these ideas or energies. I'm sure you get them too, out of nowhere, right? Right. But I didn't even understand what a spirit animal was till 1997, and when I went on my first vision quest. And I have to tell you, it has been forward, fast, full steam ahead since then. But I didn't quite understand it. And I couldn't imagine why I was on this vision quest. Well, do you know why I went? Because the consulting firm I worked for back then said to me, hey, I want you to go on this vision quest with Sidonia. She's been doing it for like 30 years. You're going to go out in the desert. You're not going to bring anything, but I want you to go so you could steal all of her ideas, bring them back so that we could do vision quests for corporations. Now, you and I know, Sarah, right? That doesn't work. So I got to learn my spirit animals. How does one get a sense of what their spirit animals, who their spirit animals are?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's as simple as asking yourself the question, is there a wild animal that's just been so precious to me since I was a young kid? And like often people, when they really they're like, oh, I've always loved, whatever it was. And then, or sometimes, you are unconsciously collecting these beasties like artwork and tchotchkes that have that on them, and so sometimes that's how you figure it out, or you were nicknamed that as a kid, that can be something that's there. Or maybe you've had an extraordinary encounter with a wild animal that really touched your life and changed it in some way. So those are some ways. Then I think, I mean, for most people I meet we're a lot mental, like, most of us in this culture are really head oriented. And this really discovering your spirit animal is more of a heart process.
Yeah.
So I recommend taking a shamanic journey, which might sound really odd. I don't know, probably maybe not to your listeners. Who knows who's listening? But on my website, you can download or you can listen to a guided journey where I drum and talk you through the process so that you can have the opportunity to meet your spirit animal. And yes, I've found with clients, once they connect with theirs, and it can be absolutely life-changing in terms of empowering people. And of course, it's an ongoing thing. It's not like once and then done, but it's this process of getting to know them and beginning to honor that, and also begin to feel that power moving in your life, and how that guidance, and it can just show up in the straight. I just had somebody a few days ago who their spirit animal showed up in a journey with these, I'll just say like brilliant blue eyes. And then she said when she was walking around in the world, she noticed like the same color of those eyes, but like showing up all over. And she's like, is this weird? But it feels like that's the animal kind of in my life already. And you kind of this little essence of it everywhere. And I was like, yeah, that's how, I mean, they can do whatever, whatever is perfect for you. And so that's the beauty of it. And there's so much like playfulness in it. Anyway.
There is. And we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I've got a card for you to pull. It's coming through our IM. I'll make sure we do that. For those of you out there, if you'd like to call in, we are doing it right now. How good are you willing to let it get? When we come back, we'll tell you how you can find out more about Dr. Sarah, about the book, all of the above. And we are pulling cards. 1-800-930-281-CARD, 2819. And we're going to kick it up. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Maria, we will get to you. Charlene, we will get to you. LJ, we're going to get to you right up. Before we do, I want you all, if you're just tuning in, we are having a great conversation. I love this book, by the way, and we'll talk about this. It's how good are you willing to let it get, right? These are daily feel-good inspirations for creators, helpers, and healers. And with Alice. Yeah, Alice is here. Alice the elephant right there.
She's on her surfboard.
Yeah. Yeah. And so today what we're doing is we're opening up the phone lines, and we will take your questions, calls. Dr. Sarah will also pick a card. But before we do that, how do people get the book? How do they get the cards? How do they find out about you?
Yes, you can go to followyourfeelgood.com, and that's where everything is at. And place to book consultations and shamanic mentoring, coaching, healing sessions, and of course, all my books and the deck. Follow your feel good. Yeah.
So I shuffled here, and I was thinking for myself, kind of what I alluded to before the deal, when I was talking to you about writing the book and things like that, and really thinking, am I really done? And what I realized is I'm not. There's a lot of information about the network and what I've done there. But in my meditation with my spirit animal conversations, don't quite have the same ones you have. I am being like, you have got to get out there and become more visible again. Your technology has been. So I pulled a card. I wasn't exactly happy when I pulled it. But maybe you can explain it. And then we have LJ, then we're going to go to Marie and Charlene. So I
Okay,
pulled
perfect.
that
Go for broke. Yeah.
card.
Are you gonna read it to us?
All right. Go for broke. That's the card, everybody. I love these cards. Go big. Dream in absurd and ridiculous directions. That's where the magic is. Dag nabbit. Dream big, then take, I love this. Dream big, then take little, feel good, take little, dream big, take little feel good steps towards the magic. What would be really amazing to do or experience if you knew, Benny, you ready? This is this card. If you knew, what would be really amazing to do, right? Or experience if you knew you could not fail? Benny, are you for real, right? That's a question on my show opener. What step would you take toward that experience today? Dear God, remind me that with you, even the ridiculous can become possible. That is a keeper. Just gonna go right there. Right there.
Awesome. Yeah,
What's
and I
your
always tell like
interpretation of
people,
that?
well, I think the biggest thing about big dreams is big dreams can feel overwhelming and impossible. So what we have to do is break it down to some tiny little step that we can take today that's so small, it doesn't freak us out, it doesn't get our ego all worried. So it could be like if you're, wanting to travel to Machu Picchu or something, it could be just like going online and exploring, travel opportunities to Machu Picchu. It doesn't mean you have to book the ticket or do anything crazy like that. It's just starting to explore. And then often like the outcome is so much better than you could even imagine. Different things start to happen as you're willingly, like there's magic in that action taking.
All right. I'm going to go right now to LJ from NJ.
Okay.
Pick a card, please.
Okay.
Pick a card, please. How
So this is,
how do I follow my heart? Oh, what'd you pick?
Oh, this is for LJ.
LJ.
You can answer. You can say his question.
How do I follow my heart?
Okay. So this message is for you, LJ, and whoever else is listening. Are we allowed to swear on this show, or shall I soften my words? Maybe, yeah.
I'd appreciate you soften the words,
right?
yeah.
I will soften the words.
Thank you.
So the key, the theme is be transparent. Let your so-called defects shine. This is what makes you so darn kick-ass.
Thank you.
Let others see right through you. Laugh together at those neurotic tendencies and confess why you kept your darkest secrets quiet in the first place. That fear of flying, literally or metaphorically, own it. It's disarming to your fellow humans and invites them to be blissfully authentic right alongside you. So the invitation is share your vulnerability with another person. Let them really see you. And the prayer is, dear God, take away my fears of being who I am with others. Help me live free.
Wow, that is a winner chicken dinner right there. Thank you. And thank you for holding it up. All right, Benny, let's go. I believe we have enough time. We've got all three callers lining up, and I'm sure there'll be more, but let's go to the phones.
All right, we'll take Maria calling in from Kirkland. Hi, Maria.
Hi, how are you guys?
Awesome, Maria. How are you?
Good. Thank you for taking my call.
You betcha. How can we help you today?
I was wondering is it possible to pull a card for yesterday?
Sure. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So here's the card, Maria. Love your troubles. It's kind of the circus tent, like when things get a little challenging sometimes. I think there's that like that circus monkeys quote. Here's the message from Alice. Your difficulties are precious opportunities to become even more skilled in feeling good. Seek solutions within yourself and from the counsel of wise ones. How to know if they are wise? They're the ones smiling calmly. And then Alice's question is, what has one of your past troubles taught you? So kind of like, what most difficult experience, gave you a gift, and what was that gift? And then the prayer is, dear God, help me embrace my challenges so I can learn from them.
Wow, thank you so much.
So
Does that
I'm
resonate
imagining,
somehow?
yeah, I'm imagining for you there was something about yesterday that this card is giving you some insight to, right?
Yes, definitely.
So you ready to rock and roll then, Maria?
You bet.
Seek that good counsel. Okay.
All
Thanks,
right. Thank you,
Maria.
Maria. Thank you. Benny, who do we have lined up next?
Yes, we will now take Charlene calling in from Canada. Hi, Charlene.
Hi, Charlene.
Hi.
How can we
Charlene.
help you today? And of course, we'll pull a card for you, but you might have a question too.
Okay. Can you pull a card for August 8th, 2020, 2020, Lionsgate?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, Lionsgate. I've been hearing a lot of people talking about that. Okay, here's your card. Dare.
Ooh.
Okay, here's the message from Alice. Do the creative thing that scares you. If you can do it without too much attachment to the outcome, that's best. The lessons will be precious and profound. And then her questions are, what are you scared to do? And how deeply attached are you to the outcome? Could you let go of the outcome and create anyway? And then the prayer is, dear God, show me the creative ideas I need to act on. Help me release my attachment to the outcomes.
That is wonderful.
Well, I hope you have a beautiful creative Lionsgate. It sounds like a real, like this card coupled with that energy. Pretty powerful.
That's amazing. Thank you so much.
You bet.
You are
Lionsgate.
welcome.
Yeah. 8/8 Lionsgate 2020 energies. And by the way, the 8/8, by the way, the 8/8 in the book is referenced as know it. Know it. Awesome. Oh, I love this. This is
Thank
exciting.
you.
Before we go to our next caller, and we're going to get right there, can you please, again, let folks know how they get the cards, how they get the book,
Yes.
and how they work with you?
So you can get the book and the cards at followyourfeelgood.com. Followyourfeelgood.com, and you can book a consultation, all kinds of things. And there's my blog, there's lots of things. And you can get a free Beastie access to the Beastie meditation to discover your core Beastie, which I highly recommend if you're not sure who your spirit animal is. It's a wonderful thing to do, especially with all the pandemic and what's going on right now, to empower yourself and get guidance.
Yeah. And for those of you out there, I've got a couple of questions came in. Yes, it's August 8th through August 9th. It's the Lionsgate portal, and people are looking at it as an activation or an acceleration. So you can Google it and find out more. Wow, I'm excited about this. Benny, who do we have next?
Yeah, we'll take Parisa calling in from Maryland. Hi, Parisa.
Hi, Parisa.
Hi, Benny. Hi, Dr. Pat. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking my call. Hi, Dr. Sarah.
Yes,
Awesome.
would you like us to draw a card for you?
Yes, please. And I wanted to actually give a little bit, very briefly, about my current situation that I need guidance for. I'm going through very difficult times, and it's been several months. My family has cut their relationship with me, and that happened when everything else was falling apart in my life. I lost my job, going through very difficult financial situation, and then they actually stopped their relationship with me. So I just wanted to see how I can actually turn things around, and what I need to do, especially related to my family.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That sounds like a really challenging So I have,
It
and so I'm
is.
sorry you're going through that. And I just pulled a card. So are you ready for it?
Yes, I
Right.
am.
Here
Thank
it
you so
comes.
much, Sarah.
So the card is expect miracles with this marvelous hippopotamus on it. And this is
Wow.
Alice's message for you. Petition, 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 which is like ask, right? We can't do much
Yeah.
without a request. Whether you want to feel closer to the divine or you need a good deal on a used Toyota RAV4, asking is critical. Expect miracles. Little by little, you'll come to understand that while not everything is meant for you, no heartfelt request goes unanswered. And so then Alice's suggestion is pray today for something that feels difficult. And the prayer is, Dear God, give me signs to direct me on my path.
Wow.
I can't think of
Yes,
a better card for your situation, what you're in. So I'm grateful for that.
yes, it really actually touches my heart. Thank you so much, because I was feeling honestly disappointed that I'm not being heard and seen. So yes, this is great message moving forward.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
sending you many blessings.
Yeah.
Aw,
I
you're welcome.
appreciate it.
Yeah. You know, Sarah, boy, I'll tell you what, I know how that feels when it comes to family. And
Yes,
I think that, you know, not only are these trying times in general, but you know, we're each of us are being asked to show up in perhaps ways we hadn't done before. Let's take a minute here also. And again, we have time for maybe one more card pulling if someone out there would like it. 1-800-930-2819. Um, but people don't quite understand the idea of an animal spirit that's with us, right? And, you know, I don't know what your experience is or how you found yours, but let's talk about what that gift is really about and those energies and how to tap into it. For example, when on my first vision quest, I like to go up high in the desert. This was in a desert. I like to go up on the highest part of the desert. It's really hard to walk in sand, right? But I like to go up, and I found my spot, and that was gonna be my place for 10 days. And I totally was building my medicine wheel, the whole thing. And I'm like, I go to the edge of the rock and I just planted myself and I said, this is going to be my sacred space. I'm from New York. I did not know that rattlesnakes love to bathe on the hot rocks. So, for a number of days, I battled it out. I would sit on the rock and I couldn't see anything, but I would hear it. And day one, I jumped off the rock. By the time I got to day 4, I had gone through a lot of things, but by the time I got to day 4, I got on the rock and I heard the rattle and I said, I'm not moving. We could either share the rock or you could find another rock. Now, I
Wow.
was told that I would have to learn everything I needed to learn about rattlesnakes, how they shed their skin. I've had others. How can we help people without you going to the desert sitting on a rock? How can we help folks identify with these powerful spirits and then listen to their message?
Yeah. Well, there's so many different ways, but what I just mainly want to share is that the spirits, the animal spirits, what they do is they share the love and compassion of the universe with us. That's what they can do. And they're kind of responsible for our vitality, like what makes us, full of power. And so one thing that I will, if you have an inkling of who yours is I'll just invite people to go watch a documentary about that creature or that beastie and just notice, like, what do you admire? How are they doing things they're doing? And it's really more of a body sensed feeling. Often when people go on shamanic journeys, like the one that's at my website too, they'll get this bodily sense of what it's like to be, let's say, a bear, where, as you're walking, your belly is swaying, and you have these giant paws, and your spirit animal might actually touch you or show you in their own way what it's like to be that animal. And when we have that bodily sense of it, it's very empowering. And whether it's a butterfly, that's flying about, or whether it's something giant like a hippopotamus, like we just saw that marvelous hippopotamus. And I always tell people too, the spirit animals choose us. So we are not in charge of who our spirit is. And that can be a little challenging. Sometimes we go on a journey and we meet, who knows, like a porcupine keeps showing up, and you're like, well, I was thinking of something more grandiose, and it's like, well, just explore, why might that beastie be the one that shows up? You can ask for them to show up in your dreams. That's another wonderful way to find out who they are, so you can start working with them.
Well, and I think this is so, for me, stepping into this place of learning, and, I'm such a student around this that I'm so curious, and I did exactly what you said. I mean, I started to read about it. And then Linda, my best friend, we were off back in California a number of years later, and, we were driving back, and I think it was during 9/11, and we were driving back, and Linda said, pull off on the side of the road. And we pull off on the side of the road. And of course, Linda finds the skin of a snake, right? The skin that was shed. And, I think that we are now in such a world of fast pace. We have to take a minute to breathe, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's that slowing down, even just sitting in your backyard, or going to your local park, or just wandering in your neighborhood, connecting without, with the headphones out, with the listening to the birds, connecting with all those primal sounds can be really helpful.
Yeah. And, I wanted to ask you this. Let's talk about what you've written and how the cards, let's talk about how they help us with our next chapter, right? For example, like my question was on a next chapter. LJ's question was on a next chapter, so to speak.
Right.
Can we talk about both the book and the cards in conjunction with themselves, with each other, and how people can chart the course out?
Yeah. Well, the reason I wrote the book and developed the cards is because what I've been realizing with myself and my clients, like, the one thing that really benefits us is having some sort of, beautiful resource of media that's uplifting and, helps us to do some self-reflection. And I always think of morning being the best time to do that, because usually after the morning's gone, then, life takes over and all kinds of people get involved, and then it's not guaranteed. So I wrote the book for for a morning practice. So each page is just one page for you to sit with while you're drinking your tea or your coffee in the morning. And then it's with the deck, I think it's fun to then just either do a card a day, or you could have a card a week that you just sort of prop up, like you propped up on your table, and just to contemplate that. And or when you're struggling, I think a deck of cards is like the most marvelous tool, because we can just get in touch with it and just say, cards, show me what I need to know right now. And just like we pulled these cards, like, the world is not random, is what I've been discovering. Like, things show up that need to show up, and sometimes we don't get the card we want, but it's the card we need.
Well, I mean, that's true too. Because or the animal spirit, so to speak, right? I mean, on that same trip, I got lost in the desert, and I remember my mentor telling us what to do when you're lost in the desert. Of course, I didn't do what she said you should do, not to get lost. But, here I was, really wandered way off. And her remedy was take your clothes off, lay down naked on the ground, put your head to the ground. And so I did that. But here's what we're talking about today. It's a new level of awareness. I didn't hear the ground move, but I could feel a shadow. And then I could feel the shadow above me. And it was a turkey vulture, of course, one of my other totems. And I got up and I put my clothes on and I followed the turkey vulture.
Wow. So powerful.
And I think what you're doing here today with your book and the work that you do, Dr. Sarah, is you're introducing another way for us to really fine tune the ability we have to be aware, the ability we have to see what may not be seen. And we need that now.
For sure. Yeah, because we're all on a hero's journey right now. The pandemic is here and we're having to navigate things we never knew we would, making decisions we never have had to make. And then the losses and the grief and so many things and the fear.
Yeah. I'm having to make
Yeah.
more business decisions and personal decisions. I mean, even for us, thinking about how do you run a business where people actually have to come in? How do you do that? And yet honor individual people's journeys. And, it is probably for me, I've done a lot of things and I've been challenged with a lot of things, but not quite this way, where this challenges your heart, your mind, and your soul. Thank
Amen.
you. Thank you. Dr. Sarah, one more time, how do we find out more about you? And last question, I'd love to know your personal message for today.
You can find me in my books at followyourfeelgood.com. And my message to everyone today is just sending you blessings and hope that you find the courage to do the things that you're being called to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you. Thank you.
You are
Thank you
so
for all
welcome.
you're
Thank you for
doing.
having me.
You bet. Benny, Olivia, thank you. And for those of you, don't go away. Sue Storm is coming up right next. Dr. Sarah, you rock.
Thank you. You too.
All right, everybody. We'll be right back.